something very simple, very easy, that anybody can recreate at their home and without too much tools or anything like that. So I was like, all right, let me just make this on live, and if you guys want a step-by-step, I'll probably just post a step-by-step guide on my phone. Let's see. All right, so the first thing that we're gonna do is start with our oil. So yesterday I did the butters, but it took a little bit longer, so I decided that today I will warm my oils first and then pour them onto my shea butter. That way I can just whip it up instead of having to go through, you know, waiting for it, etc. So let's do that. All right, so the first thing we have here is our oils. We're going to do a jojoba oil and grapeseed oil. We're doing grapeseed oil at 20%, which is 23 grams. So we're gonna go ahead and turn on our scale and add that in. And this is a simple formula because we are using the store-bought grapeseed oil. So you can just go get this from your store. I wanted to make sure this was easy for you to recreate at home. So we're using store-bought grapeseed oil. All right, so let's do that. And we want to do 23 grams. Just go ahead and pour that out. And I'm using grapeseed oil because of how it's not very heavy oil, and I like how it feels on the skin, especially when I use it in body oils or just on my face in my facial oils. So I figured I can use this, and I use this with the kids as well. I use it in lip gloss and lip balm. So it's like, let me just do that for them because we want this to be very simple and easy to recreate. All right, so we have our 23 grams of grapeseed oil. The next thing we're going to use is our jojoba oil, 21%, so that is going to give us 24 grams of jojoba oil. Let's pour that in here. I'm just looking at this now, and my jojoba oil might just run out. Yes, my jojoba oil definitely run out on me. So what we're going to do is we're using TKB, but since I run out of jojoba oil, I'm going to go ahead and add in some more grapeseed oil. The reason why, I could add in another oil because I have some sweet almond oil, but you know, people with nut allergy and they're going to go to school, so I was like, all right, let me just not do that. Let's go ahead and add in some grapeseed oil to finalize it so we can have correct percentage. 24. Yes. All right, so we got our 24 grams. All right, so now that this is completed, we are going to go ahead and set it aside to warm up a bit. My stove is on low, so I'm going to warm it up just a little bit. That way, let's turn that down. That way it doesn't get too hot, and I just want it warm enough so that way when I add my shea butter, you know, it's not burning. That's the idea. So our shea butter, we are adding at 55%. Once we add it at 55%, we're going to, that is 62 grams. So let's go ahead and add that in. I also need them to be small pieces because remember, we're throwing hot oil on it. Well, not hot, but warmed. Grams on the dot. So we've completed weighing out our shea butter and our oil. While our oils warm up, we're going to put our shea butter to the side, and we're going to use this opportunity to weigh out our essential oils. All right, so we're going to go ahead and we're going to use our smaller beaker right here, and that's what we're going to use to weigh out our essential oils. So let's continue that. So we're at our essential oils now. We're doing 1% of each. So the 1% of each is equivalent to 1.13 vitamin E oil. So let's do that. And then we're going to do the same thing for 1% tea tree oil. I'm going to add that in, move that, so let's do and do a bit of lavender just to kind of help with the fragrance of it. And yes, it will still be safe to put on your face. Since I'm not putting in my Colloidal Oatmeal, I'll replace it with this. So a few drops of lavender essential oil. Alright, there we go. About the same 1%. So that's what we're going to add into this. Now we're going to go ahead and stir this around. I don't want the oil to get all over. You know what? Let it stay. Let's go ahead and stir this around, stir this around, stir this around. Now that this is out of the way, let's go ahead and see if our oil is ready. And then we're going to pour it on top of this and use our handheld mixer to mix it all together. You know what temperature is at. Sometimes I use that, sometimes I just eyeball it to see where it's at. So let's go ahead and pour this on. While I'm here, it has also water on it, so we're going to go ahead and dry that off. Let's dry that off because we don't want none of that water running down into our mixture. Let's clean all that off. Then we go ahead and pour it on top. Just like that. And this is if you want to do a dried version of our body butter or our face butter for kids. It can double as both, but this is a dried version of non-melting version. You just warm your oil and make sure your shea butter is broken up. Okay, if you take a look there, you can see that it's already melting. So I'm going to use my stirring rod and mix it up. Just mix it up a little bit, just, you know, so it can kind of soften it up a bit. I'm not sure if you can see. If it's turning that milky color, that's because it's melting. See? Yeah, it's melting up now. So let's mix that up. This is where if you have a mica that you want to add, go ahead and add in your mica. Just go ahead and do that now. We're going to go ahead and add in our cool down phase. Let's do that. Let's add that in. This is our mixture of all our oils and butters and all of that. So we're going to go ahead and add that in while we're at it. Now let's before we do anything. I wanted to show you how fluffy, how thick it got so far. This is how thick it is. If you're able to see that, it's nice and thick. Well, solid. I'm going to give this another mix. It's creamy right now, but I'm going to tell you it's not going to stay this texture. This is just the texture that it has right now at room temperature. But once I let it sit overnight, it usually gets a bit harder. But not to the point where, you know, I can't scoop it up or anything like that. That's why I did the percentages the way. And this is how you would do it without, if you decide like you don't want to use heat, you don't want to use a microwave, and you also don't want to like melt your shea butter, you probably don't have the, you know, the tools or whatever to melt your shea butter. Do it just like how I did it. Warm the oils, pour them on your shea butter, make sure your shea butter is cut up in small pieces, and use that to mix it in. So now that I've mixed this a couple times, it still has a bit of a creamy texture. But usually when I just completed making it, it has that creamy texture. right up until, unless I put it in the freezer so it can get a bit firmer, and then I whip it up. When it's finished, it's going to have this creamy texture, and then you let it sit for 24 hours. The real texture of it is that texture that it has for 24 hours. Yesterday I made a face cream, and when it was completed, I made it on live. When it was completed, it had this texture, right? But now I let it sit out for 24 hours, and this is the texture it have. It is a bit, it's not hard because I can scoop it up, but it has a little more of a body butter texture here. So that's what you can look forward to once this is solid in 24 hours, something similar to that. So I'm gonna go ahead and squeeze it, not squeeze it. I'm gonna go ahead and scoop it in. One more, another thing I want to mention, if you want those fancy looking thing with the pipette and the tip, you're going to have to make sure this gets a bit harder, and you would have to also add a bit more shea butter to make it thicker. So you put this in the freezer, and then you'll get that texture where you can whip it up and have that hard texture that you might be looking for. All right, so my formula was 4 ounces, right? But because I whipped it up as much as I did, this is how much the volume increased. So when you whip it up and you put that much air in it, the volume increases. So it's probably going to be like 5 ounces. Really, it's like just 4. It's just the air that's inside of it. That's loud, but it helps to get the air bubbles outside of it. And now that's completed. So now when the kids wake up tomorrow, I don't have to go get my shea butter and like press it out, you know. I won't have to squeeze it in my hand, which is fine. I can just scoop this up and give it to them, because guess what? It is just shea butter, a jojoba oil, and grapeseed oil. Everything else that I put inside of this was completely optional. You do not have to add that if you don't want to. I just decided to because my daughter has an issue with eczema from time to time, so I figured I'd add in the lavender and the tea tree oil to help her with that, especially on her face. I didn't put too much because they're going to rub this on their face as well, so I didn't want it to be too hard. I wanted it to be gentle. So with that said, oh wait, before I end it, let me try it, because I'm pretty sure you guys want to see that as well, right? So we're gonna go ahead and try it. There's some here. Let me scoop up here. Remember, this isn't the end the final texture, but let's just try it on our hands. So we're gonna rub it here. I hope this was educational and worth watching. Hey guys, this is 24 hours later. This is the texture. It does have a nice soft butter texture. It's not as like hard as my face butter, but it has like, it's firm. Definitely if it's in a hot climate, this may melt in a hot climate, but for cold winter weather, this is perfect texture. It also feels good on the skin. It stays on, it lasts, it dissolves into the skin properly, like it seeps into the skin. It doesn't feel heavy, it doesn't feel drying, it doesn't feel like there's too much ingredients in it. It's just light and fluffy, like a whipped shea butter that you can recreate at home. Shea butter, some essential oils, some carrier oils, and you're good to go. Definitely recreate this at home. Tell me what you think. If you like this video, definitely leave me a comment. Definitely like the video. If you want more tutorials videos like this, I would link my skincare channel in the description. If you want more of me, subscribe to this channel, and see you in the next one.